Find out where pheasant shooting is going. We're on a driven day in Essex this week with the chairman of the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust, Sir Jim Paice.
There's one up that tree.
Let you climb up and get that.
Oh, thank you. It's not mine.
Plus, the cold snap doesn't put off angling addicts. Andy Ford is fly fishing in the snow.
I'll just shut up and play the fish, I think. Look at that. Just epic.
Fieldtester has Will Hogan on the Fieldtester Swazi Doughroaster fleece. Yes, Doughroaster. All will be revealed. Greg Smith MP is the subject of the podcast, and David is on the new stump. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain.
Back in the good old days, we had government ministers who were friends of shooting. Jim Paice was a Tory MP from the late 1980s until he stood down in 2015 and fought shooting's corner as Minister for Agriculture under David Cameron.
I had air rifle when I was, I think, when I passed my 11 plus when I was 11. That's a long while ago. I got my first 12 bore when I was 17. I was first shotgun as well. I didn't really shoot much. It was all rough shooting, just wandering around some old woodlands and clay pits near where I lived. And then I was frankly too busy, and I certainly wasn't in the market at that stage to be able to buy shooting. And I didn't shoot much until I was then into my mid to late 30s, and I really started again. That was when I first started driven shooting, really. So I wasn't very quick onto driven shooting, but I've been shooting ever since then, and you'll realise that my 30s were quite a long while ago.
Now retired from politics, Jim is chairman of the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust, and his love of shooting is as strong as ever.
I don't have a shoot of my own, so I can invite people who invite me back, my friends and my two sons who are with us today. And we usually have a day somewhere, and this year I actually advertised on Guns on Pegs using their peg match system, and Mark Latchford, who runs this shoot, responded. I actually knew Mark anyway. He's chairman of Essex GWCT committee, which is great. So I took a day here in January. I love shooting in January. A nice, brisk, crisp day this morning.
Mark Latchford can't be here today, so running the day is Charlie Potter.
Start in September, we shoot a day a week pretty much. So around about 20-day mark. Today's probably our last sort of serious, more organised day. Shoot over quite an area. I wouldn't like to guess on the acreage, but mainly chalk. It's all stubbles as well. The farmers now all direct drilling, which helps our partridge numbers, game numbers in general, but especially the partridges. Yeah, we've got some nice terrain, some nice rolling hills, and show quite some got nice birds.
Drive 3, and Jim is in the wood behind the line. He's out of the shooting, but he does see where the birds fall.
There's one up that tree.
I'll let you climb up and get that.
Oh, thank you. It's not mine. No. I'm a countryman by birth. I've always loved the countryside. I hate living in cities. The fact I had to live in London for work 28 years didn't do much for me. I love getting back home into the countryside. And my shooting is part and parcel of my love of the countryside and love of nature and wildlife. I know a lot of people think it's a contradiction in terms, but it's not, because if it wasn't for shooting, the rest of the wildlife that we see around us wouldn't be here, because they wouldn't have the cover crops, you would have the predation control, you wouldn't have the woodland management and all the other things that go for every sort of wildlife you could imagine, from the humble beetle or in the ground, which is part of the food chain, right through to game birds and indeed all sorts of other songbirds.
That's not just Jim's opinion. Through his role at the GWCT, he's got the science to back it up.
You know, we're a science-based organisation. Everything we say has got strong scientific evidence behind it. We can prove it, and we can demonstrate quite clearly that a well-run shoot has more biodiversity than on similar land that is not managed for shooting.
As you might expect from someone in his position, Jim has switched to steel shot cartridges in his 20-bore.
With all the shooting organisations, we decided 4 years ago, I think now, that we need to just show an example, and we should sign up to transitioning towards steel. It's inevitable. I think it'll be law within 3 or 4, 5 years at the most that we have to use non-lead. So I thought I'd need to set an example. Once once they developed a biodegradable wad that isn't plastic and in other words doesn't lay in the countryside forever, I moved over to this the Ely. There are others now, I know. The wad degrades in a couple of days if you put it in a glass of water. And I find steel is perfectly good for my level of shooting. I don't do the very high bird shoots in parts of the country that some do. But as far as I'm concerned, I've got 24 grams of number 4 because you need a bigger shot size with steel. You know, I'm not the best of shots in the world, but I find it perfectly adequate for me. So that's how I shoot. Right.
And then we went on to Saffron Golf Course, stood on the 6th fairway and sent some pheasants out of Springwood down the fairway, which is quite novel. I'm not sure many shoots will stand on a golf course, especially as a nice golf course as Saffron Walden. And then we finished on one of the signature drives called High Balks, which produced some very, very testing partridges. I'm not sure of the exact numbers yet, but yeah, we're there or thereabouts. We're very, very happy. It's all run very smoothly. Guns have enjoyed themselves. They've all shot pretty straight, apart from the last drive. No, they've all shot very well. And they've all really enjoyed their day, which is the main thing.
Been a great day. Yeah, all my friends. So there's been some excellent shooting crack in the gun bus, none of which you've recorded, thank goodness. But no, it's been a very good day. Yeah, I would say this as a dad, wouldn't I? And both my sons in their 40s, but everybody's saying how well they both shoot. They are, but younger people, they're both very good shots, and it's great joy to have them with you. And last week I was shooting with them as well, and they had both their sons with them. They love to be out as well. It's a family affair, and this is the sort of thing that people don't fully understand about shooting. You know, it goes through the generations. It's being out in the country. It's lovely, wonderful.
You can find the Littlebury shoot at Guns on Pegs, link below. And for more about the Ely cartridges that Jim uses, go to elyhawklimited.com.
Thank you, Jim. And if you have switched to steel shot for driven shooting, let us know in the comments below what loads are working for you. Now, what's in this week's Fieldsports Extra? Wolf hunting, an inspirational speaker, ha ha, and a man in a Fieldsports Channel mask.
They just pop up like mushrooms.
This week's Fieldsports Extra competition is for a subscription to NZ Hunter. Here's editor Luke Kerr.
Hey team, it's Luke from NZ Hunter magazine here, out in the mountains of New Zealand. We're New Zealand's biggest hunting magazine with a focus on public land hunting, covering everything from mountain species like tar and chamois, red stag hunting, fallow deer, and even a bit of pig hunting. If you want to see what New Zealand hunting's like, pick up a copy.
Thanks, Luke. It's a family-run magazine and it's been around for 17 years, and last year it published its 100th issue. The magazine also runs a series on YouTube called NZ Hunter. Its annual subscription is 6 magazines at around 75 quid, and Fieldsports member Nigel Gavin has kindly offered one subscription as a prize in the weekly draw. Become a Fieldsports member, now with insurance, and watch our exclusive members-only show, Fieldsports Extra, to find out how to enter our free competition to win it. I'm glad to report that Stephen Bennett won the £300 Tuffy's dog bed in last week's competition. Tuffy's is kindly offering all Fieldsports Channel viewers a 10% discount voucher. Details below. Next, shy as a takahe. It's David on the Fieldsports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. The Westminster Government has put up gun certificate fees by more than double in a surprise announcement over Christmas. There are no guarantees that funds raised will be used to resource firearms licensing departments. BASC has contacted PCCs in England and Wales following the government's decision last week to increase firearms licensing fees. Northern Ireland remains exempt from the price hike, which the Westminster Government announced without consultation.
There is no guarantee that this money will actually find its way into firearms licensing departments. So we have written to every police and crime commissioner in the country, and we've asked that that money be ring-fenced, so we know it is going into firearms licensing, and we can therefore hold those firearms licensing departments to account.
Cambridgeshire Police were surprised to find a suspected poacher's car nose down in a ditch. In a post on Facebook, the police said that unfortunately those in the car didn't bother sticking around to talk to us, but we've rescued the car and it's now been seized. The biannual tradition of a petition by Wild Justice to try and ban grouse shooting will not even be debated this time. After 2 costly and pointless debates in Westminster Hall in response to the same petition in previous years, the government has issued a robust response to this one. It says it has no plans to ban grouse shooting, recognising the sport's significant environmental, economic and conservation benefits. It highlights how grouse shooting plays an essential role in rural economies, providing direct and indirect employment while contributing to wildlife and habitat conservation. A wet spring in 2024 means a bumper wildfire season in 2025. Fears of fire had prompted the Moorland Association to write to the government to say that England's catastrophic wildfires will be blamed on the Home Office. In a letter to Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, the association outlines the risk of wildfires engulfing moorlands due to Natural England's restriction on managing vegetation. The restrictions have led to a significant increase in fuel load, making them more susceptible to wildfires during the dry season. Recent years have seen fuel loads on National Trust and RSPB managed moorlands go up in flames, pouring hundreds of thousands of tonnes of carbon into the atmosphere. The letter calls for immediate action from the government to prevent this impending disaster. Thanks to Richard Walton for the story. A new book claims to make navigating UK gun laws simple and achievable. Called Locked and Legal, the book aims to provide a clear roadmap through the complexities of British firearm regulations, empowering readers to approach gun ownership with confidence and ease. Whether you're a hunter, sport shooter or collector, Locked and Legal is your ultimate guide to understanding and complying with the law, says author Alan Pearce.
I've always had an interest in owning firearms, but I never thought I could in the UK over and above a shotgun. When I discovered that you can own all manner of things, I started to look for a book that would guide me through the process. I couldn't find one, so I decided to write my own.
A Scottish farmer says he could go out of business because sea eagles are killing hundreds of his lambs. Argyllshire farmer Richard Rennie estimates that last year almost 300 lambs on his farm were slaughtered by 2 breeding pairs of sea eagles. He adds they even took down and killed a fully grown ewe. Richard joins the list of farmers that are impacted by the white-tailed eagles, also known as sea eagles. They are the subject of a release programme sponsored by the government and the conservation industry. The Daily Mirror is facing a copyright claim after it published pictures it took from a hunting website. In its article headlined "Vile Seal Shooting Package Holidays on Sale to British Hunters," the newspaper uses pictures from the bookyourhunt.com website. However, the outfitter confirms that the newspaper did not seek permission to use the images. Last year, with Fieldsports Channel's help, a hunter sent a bill to the Mirror for £1,500 per picture they used of his, which the newspaper settled for an undisclosed sum. Since then, it has hardly used a hunting picture without permission, knowing it risks another claim. Despite the hate speech by the newspaper, the government says it plans to debate trophy imports on Friday the 13th of June 2025. Thanks to Steve Jones for the story. African wildlife increasingly depends on lands managed by villagers and herders. That's the conclusion of new research published by Yale University. It says that in many areas, locally run conservancies now more effectively protect wildlife than national parks do, with communities reaping tourism revenue and other benefits. Yale cites the non-governmental organisation Mali Asili, which is dedicated to bolstering local African conservation initiatives. It demonstrates for the first time the full extent to which wildlife is often more effectively protected within conservancies than within state-run national parks. Meanwhile, a new report in the Namibian press says that hunting tourism generates more than $400 million for the country each year. And finally, has a New Zealander lost her head? Lindsay Galloway told the New Zealand Post she was almost speechless when she received a message out of the blue asking whether she was missing a deer's head. Yes, she was. It was George, a stuffed stag's head and a dearly loved family member, which was stolen from the Galloway's home along with 2 flat-screen televisions in June 2024. They reported the theft and made the plea on social media to, as they put it, the opportunist little rat bag who nicked George to return him, no questions asked. Their wish came true. To Lindsay's delight, someone found George abandoned by the roadside and he's now reunited with his owners. Thanks to Nigel Gavin for the story. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stuck in the stories, Fishing for Facts.
It's the biggest, the best, the British. Visit the Great British Shooting Show from the 14th to the 16th of February 2025 at the NEC Birmingham. Book tickets online and save now at shootingshow.co.uk.
Fieldsportscompetitions.co.uk's latest raffles are entering their last week with prizes on offer, including a Knight Pearl Harpier 35 Pro thermal rifle scope priced at £1,899 and a £500 Simpson Brothers gun shop voucher. Now, snow is falling, but that's not going to stop fly fisher Andy Ford.
Hello, and a very good morning to you on this frosty Thursday morning with the risk of ice and further snow showers.
A mixture of rain, sleet and snow has been edging in. It's another cold day out there for all of us, and there'll be further snow in places.
Now, I know the powers that be want us all to stay indoors. There are weather warnings everywhere. But if you're a little bit like me, the opportunity to come out in weather like this is just too good to turn down. Today, I'm on a mission to try and catch a trout in the snow. I'm at Manningford Fishery in Wiltshire. I've got fly rod in hand, so let's get on with it and see if we can get a fish on the bank. The thing about stuff like this, it's kind of the adventure side of it for me. You know, you've got a problem to solve, you've got something extreme happening, and get out and have a play in that environment and see what you can do. If we get a couple of fish today, it's going to be a real result. And I suppose the reward is, if something's hard earned, to me it feels a bit more valuable. So that's the reason I've come. Basically, the idea is to just kind of explore the lake a little bit and see what I can find. Don't stay in one place for too long. First of all, you get cold. And secondly, the fish may well be podded up in one individual area. So once you can find them, then you can catch them. Tactically, I've got a floating line, but I fitted a sink tip to it. So that basically means the first 4 feet of my line are pulled below the surface of the water. It's been fishing really, really well lately. There's been an awful lot of work here done over the winter, which we'll talk to them about a little bit later on. But for now, I just want to get a fish. I just want to get that tug on the end of the line to kind of reward my effort this morning. Out of bed at 6 o'clock this morning, defrost the car, drive halfway across Wiltshire to get it. So hopefully we'll get a reward. We will see what happens. Bizarrely, you've seen a few fish moving. I mean, you wouldn't believe it on a day like today, would you? So cold. This is a nice fish. It's kiting off to the left. Hopefully it doesn't go under that swan. Crashing through the cat ice in the margins. Oh, would you believe that? Well, that serves me right for pulling too hard. I was just trying to rush landing that then because I was overexcited, pulled too hard, and the fly's come out of its mouth. I got the fun out of it though. Just haven't got dinner. Damn. Frustrating, and Bertie's clearly not impressed, but hopefully more chances will come later. In the meantime, let's talk about Manningford. It's always been a great venue, but last year it was taken over by Berkshire Trout Fisheries. They've invested heavily in the 2 lakes and the hatchery on site, which supplies all the fish stocked here and elsewhere. It's transformed Manningford into one of the best small waters in the country.
Since Berkshire Trout Fisheries has taken on Manningford, I think the 2 main things that have really boosted the fish quality have been your feeding regime, obviously using high quality fish feed, but your strains as well, your actual starting stock, you know, the eggs that you get in and the fry, so just general husbandry.
Clearly you've got a business here that's investing in country sports, in field sports, and I know you love that.
One of the biggest things we've done is, with the estate, is desilt the lake. So, I mean, this area out here, you're looking at about ½ a foot depth to the left of this platform. Now you're looking at around 8.5 foot. all the way around the edges of the lake. You've now, I didn't even realise they were there before, but you've got these deep gullies that are about an extra 3 foot of water depth. So wherever you are around this lake, your deepest area is right down by your feet. Which the funny thing is, what we've seen is when we had like beginners or people, you know, who can't cast a really long line, as you know, you tend to people who can cast, they chuck a full line out the first time they get on the peg. Well, you have a beginner go in, they drop it down there, and half the time then big fish will be right down by your feet, and they're the ones who tend to catch them. It's brilliant. Love it.
Simon, looks like you and your mate Andy have had a great morning. But you were saying a couple of minutes ago you travel from a little way to get here. Talk us through it.
Yeah, we travelled from Cheltenham. We fished this for the last few years now. It's always good quality fishing. There's always good fish. There's a good head of fish. It's just a great fishery. You know, it's quiet today because we've had the snow, ice, and people have gone back to work. We're lucky we got a day off today, but you know, we are quite lucky. And this is only an hour from home, providing we get through Swindon on time. So it is a great fishery.
What the trout eat in here naturally is stuff like this. That's a buzzer, quite a big one, natural coloured olive with just a little bit of red on the cheek. And the beauty of that is fishing it under this floating bung, you can fish it completely static. So the idea is to kind of cast out and just keep it fairly tight. We think all the fish are holed up in this corner here. So let's see if I can get a bite straight away. You know, this place is tremendous. And one of the best things about it, I think, is that crossover that Fen was talking about. So the fact that you've got the opportunity to come on a day like today, catch some really quite special fish. Those rainbows are stunning quality, and you see the quality of that brown trout that Simon's had as well. Just really, really great fish. We know they're great eating. It's not that difficult a place to fish. So if you're just getting into the sport, you've got half a chance of coming somewhere. There we go, fish on, look at that. Whoa, amazing. Oh, that was incredible. I'll just shut up and play the fish, I think. Look at that. Just epic. Wow. They're just brilliant fish. Look at that. I'm talking about fish going into the smoker. That one, where have you gone? You're around there. That one is going straight into the smoker at home. Thank you very much, Manningford Trout Fishery. Awesome. Well done, Bertie. I know you must have thought I was mad coming out on a day like today to go fishing, but hey, I've had my bag of fish. Just brilliant, brilliant few hours fun. Great reward for coming out on a day like today. Huge kudos to the fishery. What a wonderful time. What a great thing to do to catch a trout in the snow.
Thanks, Andy. Next, Will Hogan talks about tops for dough roasting.
This is the Doughroaster, which this one is available in iron sand as we look at it, but it's predominantly olive that we have available, or black in this country. But a little bit of a different top. Again, same thickness as what your hoods will be, but being a 3/4 zip and a nice big kangaroo pouch and a hem finish, so it's a little bit more of a finished product. Some people don't mind an over-the-top fleece, other people prefer the full zip, but again, in the olive colour, just a good all-round fleece, dog walking, out on the quad bike, or even wearing underneath your jacket on a cold winter's day if you're loading or out in the field beating. They're perfect for the job, and they look smart as well.
And I think this is it, it's that these days with sort of hunting clothing, it's that ability then to nip to Tesco straight after.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too offensive. No, it doesn't just strike out, I've been out hiding in the bushes all day. So, no, they're very versatile, like I said. Like I said, this is in the iron sand, but we do, the main colours are olive, which is the same colour as the hood. So,
and tell me what the name was again, I missed it.
This is called the Doughroaster. So, Davey's got quite a sense of humour. So the Doughroaster is the man that stays behind at camp and keeps the fire burning. So it's to be worn around to keep yourself warm in an evening. That's what his thoughts behind it were. So, yeah.
Thanks, Will. Now, our podcast this week is all about politics. Last July at the Cartagena's Game Fair Theatre, I interviewed Conservative MP Greg Smith about how to deal with the Labour government. Here's a clip.
Seems to be a very strange thing about politics and politicians is that you probably got into this to improve society.
Yeah.
And yet almost every bill that goes through, especially in the DEFRA area, the hunting area, has to prove the economic benefit, has to prove the environmental benefit.
Yeah.
Very seldom has to prove the societal benefit. So are you saying people should get their MPs out in order to see the societal benefit firsthand? Is that the point?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you've actually got a member of parliament, and actually I've seen it from my own side, there have been in the last parliament, in the last 4.5 years, Conservative MPs that have gone out to shoots for the first time ever. They've literally never seen a shotgun before, or they've never tasted pheasant or venison or something. I know that sounds weird to be saying things like that at the game fair, but there are plenty of people out there that just have no clue about rural pursuits. And when they actually see it on the ground, and all of a sudden, let's take an obvious prejudice that might be held out there, where they suddenly see on a shoot that everybody there hasn't come in a Rolls Royce with a butler, and so it was going back to when the hunting ban was going through. Actually, one of the most effective bits of political advertising I think I've ever seen was the Countryside Alliance poster with the nurse, but that same nurse in her red jacket about to go hunting, with the slogan above her as a huntmaster, "Now you hate her," and as a nurse, "Now you don't." If we can break those prejudices and that belief that everyone that shoots is aristocracy or something, and actually they go and see that normal people, I'd quite like to include myself in that, but normal people, take part in shoots every day of the season, and clay shooting, etc., throughout the whole year. Likewise, same for angling, same for trail hunting, although I think trail hunting is very much in their sights at the moment. That was one of the things that did go in their manifesto.
It did.
On rural affairs, one of the 87 words that they managed to muster up in their manifesto. I think it's breaking those false narratives that a lot of politicians hold.
Thanks, Greg. And there's a link to the full podcast below. And that's it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please visit our website, fieldsportschannel.tv, where you can click to like us on Facebook and on Instagram. Follow us on X and TikTok. Subscribe to us on YouTube, or pop your email address into our weekly newsletter box, and we will contact you about this show, Fieldsports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.